11:58. You're listening to the Mid Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Maryam. It is Teen Suicide Prevention Week, and it is commemorated annually in February from the 14th to the 21st. Vanishaa Gordhan, the operations manager for the South African Depression and Anxiety Group Sadaq, is joining me to talk about this and the increase in suicide amongst teens. Good day, Vanishaa, and thank you for joining me. All right, so it seems like there is some technical difficulties going on there, but we are talking about Teen Suicide Week, and apparently, from statistics, 9.5% of all teenage deaths are due to suicide. And we want to know, why is this the case, and what can be done? We need to highlight the reasons why teenagers commit suicide, and what are the warning signs that we can look out for as parents and caregivers. And bear in mind that the numbers are already too high. 9.5% is a large number, and it's between the ages of 10 to 19. So your 10-year-old can be having suicidal thoughts and you just don't know it yet. So we need to be able to recognize these warning signs as well. I think we do have Vanishaa back on the line. Vanishaa, well, once again, good day, and thank you for joining me. 9%, 9.5% of all teenage deaths are due to suicide. Why do teenagers commit suicide?
So I think it's very important to note that there's so many different impacts when it comes to young people and suicide. And it's very important to note that family members, parents, teachers, as well as older siblings can all pay attention to specific warning signs and symptoms that the teen might be experiencing or exhibiting for you to pay attention to say that, okay, this teen is really not doing well. It's when their mental health gets impacted by, and within this COVID space, I mean, pre-COVID, yes, we had a lot of stresses. It was school pressure, it was peer pressure, it was academic success, expectations on academics. And also within this COVID space, it was even more that they were overwhelmed because they were tackling hybrid learning, they were tackling online learning, and then, going back to a school. And the changes in the lockdown levels also impacted their mental health hugely because they had to cope and adapt to that. So there's lots of different factors that impact a teen's mental health.
Mm-hmm. All right, let us talk about these warning signs that we need to be aware of as parents, caregivers, siblings, etc. What are the symptoms of suicide?
So it's very important. These warning signs play a big role, and these are things that, as I mentioned, parents, teachers, and all the siblings, or even aunts and uncles, if you live in an extended family space, can pay attention to and maybe notice. Right? It's the isolation. So they might be isolating themselves. They might be withdrawing. They might be sitting, in their room a lot more. They might not be interacting with their siblings or their friends. Their behavior might be changing. Their eating habits would have changed, their sleeping habits, they might be feeling tired all the time. They maybe don't even want to connect to their friends or connect to their loved ones anymore. So they're withdrawing from that space. They also might be not doing as well as they were doing before in school, and that might be impacting the way they're feeling. So if you're noticing if any of these warning signs, please ask. It's so important to be like, Mary, I've noticed that you haven't been sleeping too well. You are looking tired. Is there something that's the matter? Is something overwhelming you? Know that I'm here if you need to speak to someone, or we can always call the helpline and you can speak to a counselor, or you can speak to, someone that you trust.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is the link between mental illness and suicide, and how common is mental illness amongst young people?
So mental health issues have always been something that is there. There's a lot of stigma around mental health issues. So when a person is feeling overwhelmed, when they're feeling stressed out, and they're not able to cope, they often don't want to share that, I'm feeling like this, because they're looking at everyone else and they're like, but that person is doing fine, I should be doing fine as well. And that's often associated with the stigma associated around mental health. So it's so important to have these real conversations. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed, if you are having a mental health issue, then share that story, have that real conversations, so that others also know that I am able to share this, and it's okay to not be okay, but it's okay to reach out.
Mm-hmm. Right now, what can you do if someone is contemplating suicide?
It's so important to pay attention to the warning signs. So if you have a teen that is not doing well, they're talking about suicide, they're sharing things on social media, or they've had this conversation about suicide, about, having suicidal ideation, then it's important to just let them know that you're here to help them, to ask them that, are you okay? Let's do something to get you the help that you need. It's okay to not be okay, as I mentioned, but we need to find you help. So it's reaching out to the Sadaq helpline, reaching out to a trusted family member, reaching out to a doctor, or going to the doctor if they need help with that. Or if they're feeling stressed, or they've undergone a traumatic event, then maybe taking them for therapy, maybe, getting that resources for them so that they can cope with what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. What programs or events will SADC be running during this Teen Suicide Prevention Week?
So we do have quite a few events that we are running. You can go onto the website on www.sadag.org.za, where you can find toolkits, articles, information, posters. Knowledge is power. The more you know about mental health, the more you know about the warning signs and what to do, the more help that you can provide to someone that is not feeling well. We also are launching the 702 and SADAG are launching a project, and we are actually doing a webinar with them on Thursday on teen suicide prevention. We're also doing Facebook Friday, and that's on the Facebook page, a live Facebook session, sorry, at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock this Friday on suicide, and sharing, information from an expert. We also have our Mindful Mondays that is live on Instagram, and that is with the former Miss South Africa, Shulufatso.
Mhm. In some cultures and also religions, talking about suicide is somewhat a taboo topic. So, how can we break such thinking patterns and talk about it? I mean, for example, if your 10-year-old is contemplating suicide, it's something that you would just look at as, she's just being a child, or they just want attention, etc. So, what can be done about that? Okay, it seems like there must be some connection issue there. We've lost Vanisha. We are talking about Teen Suicide Prevention Week, and it is very important to have these discussions. As family members, these are the discussions that we should not be afraid to have, and we should be having them at the dinner table. When you're driving in the car, and don't make them gloomy, like, "Ooh, did you hear that so and so committed suicide and blah blah blah? It was because of this," and just no, don't make it a gloomy topic. Make it something that your children, your teens will be able to come to you and talk about to you. Something that they can talk about to any adult, or even to their friends, or whoever they feel comfortable in talking to about suicide. Let's not make this a topic that is a scary topic, that such that you don't want to say anything, you don't want to speak up, even if your friend, if you know of someone who might be contemplating suicide. There is help out there, and you don't have to go through this alone. You can contact SADC by going to their website, www.sadag.org.za, and there's a helpline for everything. If you need help with any mental illness, depression, anxiety, etc., they have counselors who can assist you there and give you advice. And let your parents know. I know it is not something that is easy for you to open up about and talk to them about, but let them know how you're feeling so that they can give you the necessary help that you need as well. If you have any further comments, please leave them in the comment section or send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 766 0355, and the lines will be opened when we come back from the break. Hey, is Vanishaa gone? Okay. Okay, she's back.
Part of our journey to bring relief to all, go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
She's gone again.
Babu, why don't you loosen your belt a bit more?
But why now?
Well, it's very tight, blocking air to your brain.
Haju, this is only a start. I need to tighten up a bit more. Funds are tight and the cost of living is high.
Funds are not tight. It's your haram insurance which is tightening our barakat.
Okay, Haju. I will call my insurance firm
I don't know. I
tomorrow.
think maybe
Maybe I must tighten up on my cooking from now on too.
No, Haju, we don't need to tighten up. It's okay. Look, I'm even throwing away
Oh,
my
sound
belt.
bites.
Don't tighten your belt.
What do you have? I
Change
have
your insurance. Leaving Riba
550
Insurance
around
is
that
easier
spoke
than you
about,
think.
it'll
Call
be
Amana
not be
IFS
okay.
for all your personal and commercial takaful needs. 0861 786 393. Amana, leave Riba for good. Amana IFS is a registered financial services provider.
As the crisis in Palestine continues, the
Yeah,
Africa
okay, so far
Muslims
I just
Agency
jotted
teams
down
are on the ground facilitating
530,
emergency food and medical assistance to the
and
affected
then we
families.
can also
Donate
do
15,000
7-Eleven. I
rand or
forgot
any
what you said,
amount
but
and help
there was
the people
something.
of
That's why
Palestine.
I put
Call
it down.
AMA now on
Yeah.
083-251-9376 or donate online at Africa Muslims Agency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster.
Welcome back. You're all listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media. It is 11 minutes past 12 on this Tuesday, the 15th of February 2022. And I'm talking to Vanishaa from Sadaq. And we are talking about Teen Suicide Prevention Week and what to look out for. The warning signs are very important, and what you can do as a parent, as a caregiver, as a sibling, as an aunt, an uncle, as a friend as well. And 9.5% is the statistics, and the numbers are increasing. We definitely need to do something about this. Vanishaa, thank you for joining us once again. We lost you there earlier. And but before we lost you, I wanted to know about how do we break the pattern, the thinking pattern that suicide is taboo, that it's something that should not be spoken of, because we see it in some religions and some cultures as well. You are told that it's punishable and you will go to hell, etc., etc. And obviously, this is not something that you want your child to grow up thinking. They must have this fear in their heart as well, because then they won't come and talk to you. So how do we break this thinking?
That's exactly it. It's about breaking the stigma associated with mental health and suicide. It's about having these real conversations and, not allowing it to be taboo. So having these conversations, with complete non-judgment and complete support, and the teen knowing that they actually can feel supported and have these conversations with their parents, with their teachers, with their elder siblings, or with someone that they trust. So it's so important to have the conversations and, to actually create that conversation. So to start those conversations can often be hard, especially as a parent or as an elder sibling, if you've noticed one of these warning signs. So starting that conversation, is very difficult, but it is better to ask than to not ask. So it's important to be like, coming from that space of non-judgment and complete support is like, Mary, I've noticed that you haven't been feeling well. I've noticed that you've been sleeping a lot recently. Is something the matter? Is something feeling overwhelming? And I think having that conversation also within this COVID space, pre-COVID, Sadaq saw 600 to 700 calls a day, but within the first month of lockdown, we saw our calls literally double in number. And a lot of those people were phoning in because they were experiencing symptoms of anxiety, experiencing symptoms of depression, and were not sure what it was. So it's so important to highlight that it's okay to not be okay, but you need to reach out, you need to find out more, and you need to say, okay, what am I actually struggling with? What can I get help with? And how can I better increase the quality of my life?
Mm-hmm. And how do you get teens to open up and to talk about the things that are affecting them, the mental health, the depression, and them wanting to commit suicide?
So it's having that open conversation, creating that platform, creating that space where they can talk about it, where they feel like they're in a supportive space, where, if they're feeling overwhelmed or they're feeling pressurized at school, or they, might have had a fallout with one of their best friends and they're not feeling well, they can speak to you, they can have that conversation. So it's about also, sharing that if you're not feeling well, so they often learn from you. If you start that conversation, they're going to think like, oh, mom is actually saying that she's not feeling well, and mom is actually noticing that I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, I'm isolating myself, I've withdrawn a little bit. So someone is noticing that I'm not doing okay. So opening that space for conversation is always valuable, and it's always better to ask. Don't wait.
Mm-hmm. All right. And the final thoughts and takeaway points that people can consider, teens and parents and caregivers and everyone involved.
I think it's so important to be kind to yourself and to be kind to others, to allow that space for if you're not feeling well, even if you're just feeling overwhelmed in that moment, call through to Sadaq, speak to a counselor, and get the help that you might need. It's so important to reach out. So thank you so much, and please watch our Facebook Friday chat. If you have questions, please ask, and please share as much information around mental health as you can.
Right. So thank you so much for your time, Vanishaa, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Vanishaa Gordhan from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, taking us through Teen Suicide Prevention Week. They will be having a webinar on Thursday, the 17th of February, with 7:02, discussing teen suicide and the warning signs that we need to look out for. On Friday, they have another Facebook Friday. And they're going to be talking about more on this topic of teen suicide and prevention, and what we can all do, and how we can play our role in getting the numbers down. It has been an overwhelming time, and we've all experienced this overwhelming time with the COVID 2 years ago. And 2 years later, we still have the effects of COVID-19. They are still with us, but something can be done about them. And if you need help, please, there is help available. Do visit Sadaq, www.sadaq.org.za for any information. Counselors are available, and they will help you get through whatever it is that you need to get through. It is 12:18. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Maryam.